tears in her eyes, the mail-order bride stepped off the train, and the cowboy whispered, "You're safe, you're home, you're mine." The train screeched to a slow stop at Dustwind Station. Its metal wheels hissed against the rails, sending up small clouds of red dust that danced in the golden light of the twin suns. From the open door of the last carriage, a woman stepped down carefully, her boots scuffing the wooden platform. Tears glimmered in her eyes, though she tried hard to wipe them away. Her hair, dark and tangled, caught the sunlight, and the thin shawl around her shoulders did little to shield her from the dry wind of this strange planet. She had come a long way. From a tiny settlement in the far reaches of the outer colonies, she had taken a long journey, trusting a letter, a promise, and the unknown. Her heart had been full of hope, but also fear. The people she had left behind had warned her. Dustwind Station was wild, and no one could guarantee safety. But she had made her choice. And now, stepping off the train, she faced the wide, open desert stretching beyond the settlement, with its towering wind turbines and hovering cargo drones. Her name was Leora, and today was the day her new life began. She glanced around nervously. Dustwind Station was small but bustling in a quiet, careful way. The platform was lined with crates and wagons, each labeled with strange alien symbols, and the air smelled of dry metal and hot sand. Some of the locals were humans like her, but others were not. Their skin shimmered in colors she had never seen, and their eyes reflected lights that seemed impossible. She felt like a small child lost in a vast, bright carnival. As she took a deep breath to steady herself, a shadow fell across the platform. She looked up, startled. A man was walking toward her, his boots kicking up small clouds of red dust with every step. He was tall, with broad shoulders, a weathered face, and hair the color of sun-bleached wheat. On his belt hung tools and gadgets. Some she recognized, some she didn't. There was a calm confidence in the way he moved, and yet his eyes, a deep green, softened when they fell on her. "You must be Leora?" he said, his voice low and steady, carrying the warmth of familiarity even though they had never met. Leora blinked. I'm Leora. And you are?" The man tipped his wide-brimmed hat, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Name's Jace. You don't need to be afraid here. You're safe. You're home." A lump rose in her throat. Somehow his words settled into her chest, a quiet reassurance she hadn't felt in months. She nodded, unable to speak at first. The weight of her long journey, the loneliness, and the fear of the unknown suddenly pressed on her, and for a moment she let herself lean slightly on him, trusting, just a little. Jace offered his hand and Leora took it, noticing the calluses and roughness from hard work, yet also the gentleness in his grip. "We'll get your things," he said. "There's a wagon waiting. We'll take you to your new home, just over the ridge." The ride across Dustwind's outskirts was quiet at first. The wind whispered against the metallic walls of the station and the wagons, and the horizon stretched endlessly, dotted with the silhouettes of distant wind turbines spinning lazily in the twin suns' light. Leora's eyes wandered to the strange flora, glowing faintly in blue and green, like tiny stars scattered across the desert sand. Dustwind was alien and breathtaking, but it also felt lonely, almost too quiet. Jace drove the wagon skillfully, one hand on the lever that controlled the hover thrusters, the other resting casually near the edge. "You might be surprised," he said, glancing at her. "Dustwind isn't as empty as it seems. Folks around here stick together. You'll see." Leora swallowed, unsure if she was relieved or anxious. I hope I'll fit in," she admitted softly. "You will," Jace replied. "And if anyone gives you trouble, you'll find I don't take kindly to troublemakers. There's no threat in his words, only quiet confidence." Leora felt her heart lift slightly. Maybe this wasn't the frightening new life she had imagined. Maybe it was a chance to finally belong somewhere. The wagon rumbled over a rise, and the settlement came into view. Unlike the station, this place was small but lively. Metal and wood structures rose like little islands from the red sand. Solar panels glittered. Wind turbines turned gently, and faint lights blinked on various antennas. Drones zipped from rooftop to rooftop, delivering packages and scanning the air. Children, humans, and aliens alike ran across open courtyards, laughing and chasing each other. A group of farmers waved from a distance, their hands rough from the soil, but their smiles warm. Jace slowed the wagon near a modest home on the edge of the settlement. Its walls were a mix of old wood and polished metal, and small green plants grew in tiny hydroponic beds outside the windows. "This is it," he said, his voice softening. "Your new home." Leora stepped down, her boots sinking slightly into the red sand. She ran her hands over the walls, feeling the texture of both old and new. A sense of awe swept through her. This place, though small and unfamiliar, radiated care and life. She felt a spark of hope that maybe she could grow here. Maybe she could belong. Jace stepped closer, resting a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Come on, I'll show you around inside. You've got a whole house to make yours." Inside, the home was simple but cozy. A small kitchen with gleaming metal counters, a living area with chairs and a table, and a loft where she could sleep under a soft, warm light. The air smelled faintly of fresh herbs and clean metal. For the first time in months, Leora allowed herself to breathe deeply, letting the tension slip from her shoulders. "I don't even know where to start," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "You start wherever you want," Jace said with a gentle smile. "This is your place, your rules, your life." As she walked through the rooms, she noticed small details: a hanging lantern that glowed softly, a shelf carved with symbols she didn't recognize, and a small window that framed the desert outside like a painting. She imagined waking up here, looking out at the twin suns rising, hearing the soft hum of the wind turbines, and feeling a sense of peace she hadn't known she could have. After a moment, Jace set a small, wrapped bundle on the table. "Thought you might be hungry after the trip." Inside, she found warm bread, some dried fruits, and a small bottle of water. The simplicity of it made her smile, and for the first time, tears fell freely, not from fear, but from relief. Jace waited patiently, giving her the space to let her emotions out. When she finally looked up, he nodded quietly, understanding her without words. "Tears are fine," he said. "They just mean your heart's awake. You're home now, Leora, and you don't have to face it alone." The rest of the afternoon passed quietly. Leora unpacked her few belongings, arranging them in her new home, while Jace moved around, fixing small things and explaining how the settlement worked. He spoke of neighbors, of local traders who arrived on hover wagons, of communal meals, and of the strange, colorful creatures that sometimes wandered from the desert into the settlement. By the time the twin suns dipped low on the horizon, painting the desert sky in shades of orange and violet, Leora stood outside the house, feeling the warm wind brush against her cheeks. She looked at the settlement around her, alive with gentle lights and soft laughter, and felt a quiet joy she hadn't known she could feel again. Jace joined her, tipping his hat against the sun. "First night in your new home," he said. "How's it feel?" Leora smiled, the tears now gone, leaving only a sense of calm. "Safe," she said simply. "It feels safe and right. I think I can do this." Jace's green eyes softened, and he placed a hand on hers. "You can," he said, "and I'll be around to make sure you always know it. This place, it grows on you. Just like home grows on your heart." As darkness settled over Dustwind Station, the twin moons rose, casting silver light over the red sand. Leora stood there for a long time, watching the settlement come alive with quiet activity and the distant hum of wind turbines. For the first time in months, she felt a sense of belonging, a fragile, beautiful promise that this new life could be the one she had dreamed of. And somewhere deep in her heart, she felt it too, the faint stirrings of something more, something warm, protective, and unwavering. She didn't understand it fully yet, but the feeling lingered, like a whisper carried on the desert wind. "You're safe," Jace repeated softly, as if reading her thoughts. "You're home. You're mine, in the sense that I'll look out for you, always." Leora smiled, the kind of smile that reaches the eyes, and nodded. For now, that was enough. For now she had arrived. And for the first time she allowed herself to believe in the life she had longed for. Bright, strange, and full of possibility. Morning came slowly over Dustwind Station. The twin suns rose, casting warm golden light across the red sands, and Leora woke to the soft hum of the wind turbines outside her window. She stretched and rubbed her eyes, feeling the unfamiliar calm of her new home settle in. It was different from the restless nights she had known during her long journey. Here she felt a quiet rhythm, as if the desert itself breathed gently around her. She dressed quickly, choosing a simple tunic and sturdy boots, and stepped outside. The air was dry but warm, carrying the faint scent of herbs from nearby gardens and the metallic tang of the settlement. Children ran past, chasing small floating drones that zipped through the streets, their laughter echoing across the quiet settlement. For the first time in months, Leora felt like she belonged in a living, breathing world. "Morning, Leora!" called a cheerful voice. A young girl, not more than 10, waved as she balanced carefully on a hovering skateboard. Her bright purple hair glinted in the sunlight, and her wide eyes sparkled with curiosity. "You new here, huh?" "Yes," Leora replied softly, smiling. "I just arrived yesterday." "Well, you better get used to Dustwind," the girl said, flipping expertly off her skateboard. "It's not like any place you've ever seen. But you'll love it, promise." Before Leora could ask her name, the girl zipped off laughing. Leora shook her head, amused and slightly overwhelmed. This place truly was alive with energy, in ways she had never expected. Jace appeared shortly after, carrying a small basket filled with fresh fruits and water. "Good morning," he said, tipping his hat. "Sleep well?" Leora nodded. "Yes." The quiet... She took the basket from him. "Thank you." Jace smiled, then gestured toward the wider settlement. "How about I show you around today? You'll want to know where everything is. Food, water, supplies, and a few secret spots too," Leora agreed eagerly. She was curious about everything: the strange architecture of the homes, the glowing plants that lined the streets, the hovering vehicles moving smoothly through the air. Dustwind Station was small, but it felt alive with possibility. Their first stop was the Central Market, a collection of stalls made of metal and wood, all shaded by wide canvas covers. Here, traders from other settlements and planets brought goods: glimmering fabrics, colorful fruits, tools that seemed like magic, and small pets from far-off worlds. The market smelled of spices and baked goods, with a faint hum of electricity from hovering devices. "Here you'll meet most of the folks who live in Dustwind," Jace said, guiding her through the crowded aisles. "Everyone's friendly if you're polite, and helpful if you ask. Some are shy, some are loud, but all of them make this place what it is." Leora nodded, feeling slightly nervous but excited. She noticed a small stall run by an elderly alien with soft green skin and eyes like amber. The stall held delicate glass jars filled with sparkling liquids. The alien smiled warmly at her. "New face," they said in a gentle, melodic voice. "Welcome to Dustwind. If you need guidance, just ask, and do try the moonberry syrup. It brings happiness in small sips." Leora laughed softly. "Thank you, I will." After exploring the market, Jace took her to the edge of the settlement, where the desert stretched endlessly. He stopped near a hovering platform, small and sturdy, used for carrying cargo or passengers across the dunes. "I thought we could try a short ride today, just to give you a feel for Dustwind beyond the station." Her heart raced. She had never ridden one of these hover platforms before. She climbed on carefully, gripping the edges. Jace adjusted some controls and then smiled. "Hold tight." With a gentle hum, the platform lifted off the ground and glided over the red sands. Leora gasped in delight. Below her, the desert stretched out like a vast, glowing canvas. Strange plants glimmered in shades of blue and green. Dust devils danced across the dunes, tiny whirlwinds spinning lazily in the sunlight. In the distance, she could see more settlements, small dots of metal and wood scattered across the horizon. "This is incredible," she whispered. "I never imagined a desert could look like this." "It's Dustwind," Jay said with a grin. "Beautiful, wild, and a little tricky."
"But it grows on you. Give it time."
They landed near a small canyon, carved naturally into the desert over centuries. Strange rock formations glimmered with mineral veins, and tiny pools of water reflected the twin suns' light. Leora knelt to touch the sand, feeling its warm, fine grains slip through her fingers. She marveled at the colors, at the soft humming of the wind, and at the quiet life around the pools. Tiny animals hopping across rocks, glowing insects flickering like stars. "You can explore," Jay said, giving her space. "But don't wander too far. We have to head back before the suns get too high." As Leora wandered among the rocks, she discovered a narrow path leading deeper into the canyon. Curiosity pulled her forward. Small flowers with translucent petals glowed faintly in the shadowed walls, and she found tiny crystal formations embedded in the rock. Dustwind had a way of revealing secrets to those who looked closely, and Leora felt a thrill in discovering them. Suddenly, she noticed movement nearby. No bigger than her hand, with soft silver fur and glowing blue eyes, peered at her from behind a rock. It blinked curiously, then hopped toward her without fear. Leora held out her hand slowly. The creature sniffed, then pressed a tiny paw against her palm. She laughed softly. "Hello there. Aren't you brave?" Jace appeared quietly behind her, watching the scene with a faint smile. "That's a sparkling tabby. They're harmless, but playful." If you take care of it, it might follow you around. Just like Dustwind, they take time to trust. Leora nodded, feeling a connection to this small, shining creature. I'll take care of it, she promised softly. After exploring for a while, Jace led her back to the settlement. The suns were climbing high, and the heat of the desert grew stronger. As they approached, the settlement looked different from above, like a small jewel in the red sands, alive with movement, laughter, and color. Children played, traders haggled gently, and drones zipped quietly between buildings. Dustwind was not just a place, it was a living community, growing and thriving against the odds. Back at her home, Leora set the sparkling Tavi down gently inside, watching as it explored its new surroundings. You'll like it here, she said. I think I might too. Jace leaned against the doorframe, his hat tilted back slightly. You did well today. Dustwind can be overwhelming at first, but you handled it like a pro. And you even made a friend. Leora smiled, a soft warmth in her chest. I think I could get used to this. I could really like it here, Jace nodded. Good, because Dustwind has a way of growing on people. Sometimes slowly, sometimes suddenly, but once it does, well, you can't imagine leaving. They stood together quietly, watching the settlement move and breathe around them. The twin suns began to dip slightly, casting long shadows over the red sand. Leora felt a sense of calm, a feeling she had almost forgotten. Dustwind was strange, wild, and beautiful, but it also felt like the first step toward a life she had longed for, one where she could belong, explore, and be free. That night, as the moons rose and the desert glowed in silver light, Leora sat on the small balcony of her home, watching the settlement. She stroked the sparkling Tavi, feeling the soft warmth of its fur. Somewhere deep inside, a quiet hope stirred, a feeling that Dustwind could be more than a new home. It could be a place where dreams began, where life held surprises, and where her heart could finally feel at peace. And somewhere close by, Jace watched too, a protective, gentle presence in the quiet desert night. Leora didn't need words to feel it. In Dustwind, she was safe. She was home. And maybe, just maybe, she was exactly where she was meant to be. The next morning, Leora awoke to a soft, golden light spilling through her window. Dustwind Station seemed to shimmer in the early sun, the red sand glowing warmly and the twin suns rising slowly in the sky. Her sparkling Tavi chirped happily beside her, its tiny glowing eyes following her every move. She smiled, reaching out to stroke its silver fur, and felt a growing excitement for the day ahead. Today, Jace had promised to show her some of Dustwind's hidden wonders, places that were off the map, secret corners of the desert where only locals dared to wander. Leora's heart fluttered at the idea. She had already discovered the settlement and a bit of the canyon yesterday, but there was something about Jace's tone that made these excursions feel special, almost magical. As they stepped outside, the desert wind carried the fresh scent of red sand mixed with blooming flora. Children played nearby, and a few hovering drones zipped overhead delivering goods. Leora's eyes scanned the horizon wide with anticipation. Where are we going today? She asked, adjusting her shawl against the warm breeze. You'll see, Jace replied with a smile, tipping his hat. But first, you'll need to trust me. Dustwind has secrets, and sometimes the best things happen when you don't know what's coming. Curiosity bubbled inside her. She nodded, following him to the hovering wagon. The sparkling Tavi perched carefully beside her, twitching its tiny ears as the engines hummed softly. With a gentle lift, they rose into the air, gliding over the endless desert. The ride was smooth, but the desert below seemed different today. The sand sparkled strangely, reflecting the suns in patterns that almost looked like symbols. Leora leaned forward, trying to understand the shifting shapes. Jace noticed her interest and chuckled. You've got a keen eye. Those sparkles aren't ordinary. They're traces of a rare mineral called luminite. Some say it glows brighter when secrets are near. Leora's eyes widened. Secrets? Exactly, Jace said. Dustwind isn't just a desert. It hides old things, forgotten paths, hidden springs, and stories buried beneath the sand. Today, we might find one of them. They descended near a cluster of rocks that seemed ordinary at first, but as they approached, Leora noticed faint markings on their surfaces. Thin lines carved into the stones shimmered faintly under the sun's rays. Her fingers traced the patterns carefully. What are these? She asked. They're guides, Jace explained. Long ago, travelers carved them to mark safe paths and hidden treasures. But only a few people still know how to read them. Dustwind keeps its secrets well. Leora felt a thrill of wonder. Something about this desert, with its glowing plants and sparkling sand, felt alive with stories waiting to be discovered. She followed Jace as he led the way through narrow rock paths, pointing out small openings and subtle signs hidden in the landscape. Each step revealed something new. A tiny spring bubbling up with clear water, luminescent flowers glowing softly in shaded corners, and small animal tracks that disappeared into the sand. After walking for a while, they arrived at a small plateau overlooking a deeper canyon. The view was breathtaking. The red sand stretched endlessly, dotted with glowing plants and winding paths. Leora leaned against the rock, feeling the wind brush her face, and for a moment the desert felt endless, full of life and possibility. Jace knelt beside a pile of sand and moved his hand carefully over the surface. "Here," he said. "Something's beneath this sand. Watch." With a few gentle sweeps, he uncovered a small metallic box, old but polished, with strange markings engraved on its surface. Leora gasped. "What is it?" "An old traveler's chest," Jace said. "No one's touched it in years. Sometimes Dustwind hides reminders of the past for those ready to find them." Leora knelt beside him, heart pounding. She carefully lifted the lid. Inside, she found small, delicate items: a journal bound in leather, a tiny compass with glowing needles, and a few polished stones that shimmered like the desert sands. She picked up the journal gently. Its pages were filled with handwriting and a careful looping script. "Who wrote this?" she asked. "A traveler who came long before the station existed," Jace said. "Someone who explored Dustwind when it was even wilder. The journal tells stories of survival, discovery, and friendship. You might find some wisdom in it." Leora opened the pages and began to read. The words spoke of courage, curiosity, and kindness, values that resonated deeply with her. She felt a quiet connection to the person who had left this chest, as if Dustwind itself had guided her here. "This is incredible," she whispered. "I never imagined finding something like this on my first real adventure." Jay smiled. "That's Dustwind. It rewards those who pay attention and care enough to explore. But it also teaches patience. Sometimes the greatest discoveries are quiet ones, not the loud, dramatic kind." Leora nodded thoughtfully. She placed the stones carefully back into the box and traced the compass with her fingers. A strange warmth spread through her hands, and she felt a sudden spark of excitement. This desert, wild and vast as it was, seemed to have chosen her to uncover its stories. As they made their way back toward the settlement, the suns rose higher, casting long shadows across the red dunes. Leora's mind buzzed with thoughts. Dustwind was more than a home. It was a place of adventure, learning, and connection. Every plant, every rock, every glowing sand grain seemed to whisper a story. Back at the settlement, Leora explored the market again. She now noticed details she had missed before: the careful arrangement of herbs, the way traders greeted certain customers by name, the soft hum of drones that seemed to communicate silently with one another. Everything in Dustwind had a rhythm, a pulse, and she felt more attuned to it with every passing day. At her home, she carefully wrote notes about the journal and the metallic chest, feeling inspired. "Maybe I can add my own story someday," she thought. "Maybe Dustwind has more secrets waiting for me to find." That evening, Jace suggested a short walk to watch the twin suns set. They climbed a small hill just outside the settlement, the wind warm against their skin. Leora looked out over Dustwind, feeling a quiet joy and a growing sense of belonging. "You did well today," Jace said softly. "Finding that chest. It shows curiosity, patience, and respect. Dustwind responds to those things." Leora smiled, watching the sky turn shades of orange, pink, and violet. "I feel like I understand it a little more now. Like Dustwind and I are learning each other." Jace nodded. "That's how it works here. You give a little care, a little attention, and Dustwind gives back tenfold. And it will keep giving as long as you stay curious." As darkness fell, the moons rose, casting silver light across the desert. The glowing flowers shimmered like tiny stars, and the sparkling Tavi nestled against Leora, its soft glow comforting in the night. She felt a quiet excitement for the days ahead, knowing there were more secrets to uncover, more adventures to experience, and more connections to build in this strange and beautiful place. That night, Leora wrote in her own journal, recording the story of the hidden chest and the treasures it held. She reflected on the lessons she had learned: patience, curiosity, and trust, and how they had helped her feel at home in Dustwind. For the first time, she understood that adventures didn't always need danger to be meaningful. Sometimes the quiet discoveries mattered more than the loud ones. And as she closed her journal and looked out over the settlement, she felt a soft certainty growing in her heart. Dustwind had welcomed her, yes, but it had also chosen her. And with each sunrise, each secret uncovered, and each quiet connection made, Leora knew her new life was only just beginning. For the first time, she truly felt that sense of wonder that had carried her across galaxies, deserts, and lonely nights. Dustwind wasn't just her home. It was a story waiting to be lived, and she was ready to live it.